hello. Welcome everyone to our talk. It's not every day we can sit here at a tech conference with the tennis champion, so we're obviously very excited, and
Thank
IBM
you.
too,
Yes,
of course.
Please.
This is an amazing room.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, this is a huge crowd
Hey,
in here.
guys.
Excited to get started, talk about some of these partnerships IBM is doing with both professional tennis and golf. So gonna get started with you, Rob. So why is IBM doing these partnerships with professional tennis and golf championships, and why is it good for IBM as a company?
Well, sports is an enormous industry. I think it's close to 700 billion. And we have a line in one of our commercials that says, you see sports, we see data. And if you think about everything that you see in a sporting event, it's all data. And with data, if you have the right data fabric, you have the right AI, you can deliver a lot of insights that changes the fan experience, can inform the athletes, can inform the owners. And so we just think it's a great application of technology. You look at the world right now, some people are excited about AI, some are scared. We think something like sports is a great way to humanize why this is a good thing for society.
And you just announced, I think earlier this week, a new partnership with Wimbledon. Can you tell us about that?
We've worked with Wimbledon for a long time. I think that's where you won for the first time, right?
20 years ago.
Wow.
20th and you've worked with Wimbledon for over 20 years as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think we were.
So happy anniversary.
Yeah, same to you. I think your accomplishment's slightly bigger than ours, but
You're doing
Maybe a
pretty
little
well.
bit.
You're doing pretty well.
we love working with Wimbledon. Incredible organization, and we've done a lot over the years on technology, delivering statistics, analytics. I'd say the most popular thing we've ever done is things like AI commentary around tennis. But the new feature this year is something called Catch Me Up, which is if you haven't been watching the tennis, you're a day or two behind, you find your favorite athlete, and you're instantly caught up on the mobile app. You get AI summarization of everything they've been doing, what has the media been saying, statistics, what do you predict about what will happen in the next match. So it's just a great way to improve the fan experience and to keep people up to speed of what's happening.
So you don't have to go back, watch a recording of the play. You can get informed really quick.
Right. And if you think about, go back to 20 years ago when Maria won, you didn't really know what was going on unless it was on the center court.
Right.
Now you know what's happening on every single court if you want to know that.
Let's talk about that just from an accessibility and sort of inclusion standpoint. Not every match goes on TV, gets on the broadcast. Not every match, gets featured in a news article. So how do these AI applications make it so they get some time in the sun too and they get some attention?
The key thing is you want to make the same experience for every athlete, regardless of whether they're number one in the world or something else. You take something like the US Open, I think it's over 250 matches per year that nobody ever sees on TV.
Yeah, you can't put them all on TV.
But how can we give those athletes the same visibility and platform to what we're doing with things like AI commentary at the US Open? Their whole match can be commentated as if they were on the main court. So we think it provides a great experience for the athletes, which creates more fan engagement, and more fan engagement is obviously really good for athletes.
And I think that also, speaks to the younger players, right? When you're coming up and you're playing, first round of the US Open as an 18-year-old, you're most likely on court 18, and for a fan to get behind you from a young age, to know more about your statistics, to know more about you as a player, I think being informed as a fan just makes it a much better experience for everyone.
Yeah, it's this new avenue to sort of break out and maybe get on people's radars when normally, the regular means might have been shut off to you. Let's talk a little more about that AI commentary feature. Tell us a little bit about how that works and if there's any humans involved in that, doing any checks on the content and how you manage that.
We have built foundation models. And so for many people that have tried AI in their consumer life, we build foundation models, but they're built for business applications. So we're not trying to do consumer type work. And so what we've done is we take all commentary over time and we use our IBM Granite models to actually train it to look at patterns in the data, how we would create new commentary, that type of thing. So there's very much a human in the loop when we're doing that training and what we would call fine-tuning of models. But once we get to an event, there's a live event, there's not a human in the loop. We're just we're doing the commentary in real time. We're highly confident because we use things like Watson X governance to make sure that the content is going to be exactly what it should be and what we predict. We do monitor it, so if we see any change or what we call drift or changes in how it's performing, but we're actually very confident we get good results.
And you're also rolling it out in other languages, which I think, because tennis is so international, I think it requires you're now Spanish, right, and hopefully going into other markets, which will only widen the fan base for the sport.
See, Maria knows a lot about this technology, which is awesome. She's right.
Absolutely.
Now in Spanish, that's incredible.
I mean, you've been a partner for so many years. I feel like I grew up knowing all the things that you were up to for a long time.
But we're just getting
She's a great
started.
spokeswoman.
We'll bring this to another 15 languages because, to your point, we want to get every fan engaged.
Yeah.
We think that's great for the sport, and so this is just the first steps.
And on that commentary feature, have you received any interesting feedback from fans, people using the app? Like, what do you hear about what people are enjoying about it?
People love the app. I'd say the most famous moment for the app was, I think it was last year that McEnroe said on TV, "This person can't possibly win," and then it became the winner. That was the Watson X prediction.
And the app called it, yeah.
Exactly. So the thing
Wait,
that the
so
people,
Watson X beat McEnroe? That should
Yes.
that should be a headline.
we predicted the winner. I think it was on Wednesday. So we were pretty confident in that. But I think the thing that people are probably most drawn to is predictions.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
The draw predictions when the draw comes out before the
Exactly.
tournament begins. Which is kind of interesting because if from an athlete's perspective, when the draw comes out, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but I wonder if you had the draw predictor when I was playing, would I be looking at that and trying to prove you wrong if you didn't have me as a winner?
So I'm curious, if you were a player, would you go look at the app before? Or do you not care? You're so focused that you don't care about what we think.
I wasn't the player that wouldn't look past the first round. There are several players that don't want to see, the draw past the first round. I didn't really mind. I actually thought there was quite a lot of fuel to the fire if I knew I was playing a higher seed or what my draw looked like or how mentally and physically I had to be prepared for it, because that's the reality. You don't want to shy away from your competition. So, but I would imagine that if I wasn't the favorite to win that tournament, I would be trying to prove Watson X wrong. Because
Yeah.
I'm quite competitive in nature, so I think that would come out.
Yeah, it would have been some more motivation to disprove the algorithm.
Yes.
But,
yes. Not only did I want to beat my opponent, but I wanted to beat.
yeah, I
beat
mean,
Watson.
let's go deeper on that. As an athlete, would you have liked to have all that extra information at your fingertips?
Yeah.
Would it have stressed you out more? And
Yeah.
other than the predictions, what other AI tools do you think could have been useful when you were still
Yeah.
playing competitively?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the days where I remember my coach, as soon as he knew who my next opponent was, he would probably spend 2 or 3 hours collecting short videos of where my opponent was, important things like where my opponent was going to serve on break point at a certain period in the match. So he would collect these little videos, and right before my match, he'd show it to me. What's interesting about, sport is that in general, you go there as a fan for the emotional experience, right? But underneath all of that, there's so much foundational wealth that's incorporated with AI and data. And so now I think my coach would have an extra 2-3 hours, maybe having a nice meal instead of collecting
Yeah.
all these videos for me. So that would have been extremely, and it's also so quick, right? And it's, I think from a fan, when as a player, you walk on the court that a fan is watching you as an informed about your game and your results, it makes for a better experience as an athlete because you feel like they are more engaged, right? They know. Most of the time when you go to a sporting event, I'd say 80% of the time, people don't really, it's their first experience at an event. They don't really know. Maybe they know the top players, but they don't know the underdogs. And so I think the experience just becomes so much richer when they are engaged and know exactly about this young player that's across the net, that's someone that's #1 in the world.
And I have to ask, is there anything about AI applications using AI in general that you would not have wanted to be involved in your experience as a professional athlete? Any areas where you think it really wouldn't be a fit and you got to do it the old-fashioned way or, use human insights?
I think the acceptance of AI is really important. I mean, I look back to when, the line calls were made by humans and when the challenge system came into place, we were all extremely hesitant. Did we, necessarily believe in the system right off the bat? I don't think anyone would agree with that. I think it took a lot of time to just build the trust on, and now, you're at the US Open and there are no line judges, which I actually missed. I think I played in the last few months with humans on the court judging calls, still with the challenge system, but now you have automatic line calling, and it takes time.
You prefer that? Would you rather it be
I think there's
right?
a combination, because I'm also, I come from a belief that sport is a bit old school, right? And there's a connection to, feelings and emotion and the grit, and I think that's part of it. But I think, all the technology is underneath is only making the sport wider and bigger.
Absolutely. You have gotten into tennis, you've gotten into golf. Can we expect IBM to do partnerships with any other professional leagues anytime soon on AI applications?
I think the thing I'm most excited about, so if you move beyond the fan experience, a recent example is we're working a lot with Sevilla Football Club, which is the football club in Spain. And we're helping them do early scouting of potential players for the team. And to me, the best evidence of the power of technology and AI is they say that what used to take them 500 hours, they can now do in 1 hour using Watson X. Like, that's incredible. Think about the productivity that drives for an organization and ultimately the performance of the organization. And that's because we're able to analyze tons of videos, stats, data from all of the, I'll call it the leagues before the professional league, and help them do scouting. They have a product that they've built using Watson X called Scout Advisor. And so it just gives you the sense that any company can take AI, hopefully in our case, Watson X, make it part of their product, and it becomes a better product.
Right.
And that's why we're actually really excited to be here at Collision, because we have so many startup companies, emerging companies who are looking to create a competitive advantage based on technology. If we can do it for Sevilla FC, we can do it with you. And this is just part of the promise of what's happening with AI and data.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the scouting aspect, does it also help teams maybe pull from a more diverse set of potential players? Because maybe it's catching people that, a coach or someone who was just manually gathering the data before didn't see. Does it help them sort of get a richer data set to look at when they're considering who to recruit?
This is why I love data. One is, I believe sports is one of the ultimate meritocracies, but you also never know, is there bias in the head of a scout?
Right.
Any form of bias. There is no bias in the data. The data is the data. So to some extent, it ensures that it's the ultimate meritocracy. And if you are a great athlete and you're delivering on the field, it's going to show up in the data. And that's the best way to empower anybody from any country. If people looked at me and Maria, they'd be like, he's like really short. He can't possibly be a good athlete. And
Hey, you might be.
They would be
you
right.
never know.
Prove us wrong.
They would be right. But let's say that I actually was, then the data would show that. And so I think it's actually really empowering for athletes.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was saying, I think, from an international perspective, when a sport, touches so many lives across the world, if you can, gather talent that's young and up and coming, that sometimes is unreachable, what a powerful tool that is.
Absolutely. And let's talk about how the rollouts of these features have gone. Any hiccups you would highlight, any lessons learned that have sort of helped you make sure it all goes smoothly going forward, and anything you want to reflect on?
Every AI project is always first and foremost a data challenge. It's kind of the classic garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have the right data, the output from the model is not going to be what you want. And we see that over time. So I think that's the main lesson learned. I'd stress to anybody, AI is really exciting. People want to do things with AI, but if you don't have the right data foundation, you're not going to get the outcomes that you want.
Yeah.
So that's really about when you're inputting the data into the system to begin with, when you're training the algorithms, have you sort of had, specifically for sports, have you had to sort of fine tune that compared to maybe other data gathering Watson does?
I would even go before fine tuning. It's how do you collect data? So, because for sports, a lot of time the data collection is actually a human who's sitting there, recording what happened. So it's how do you collect data? How do you analyze data? How do you organize the data?
So the way you collected data 20 years ago is different to how you collect it today?
It's probably not as different as you may think.
Okay.
In some cases, yes, it's very different. If you think about on-court scoring, I mean, we have much better video analytics, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But there's still, certainly in the realm of scouting,
Yes.
there's still a lot of human analysis that goes
Right.
on for that.
Which is important because it's a new, when something is new, it's important to combine the technology with the human efforts.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I think it makes the athletes believe in it a little bit more, right? Because they're used to more of an old school, model. They grew up in sport from a young age. And so AI feels, technology in general, I think it feels a little bit foreign to us because we are used to something that
Yeah.
is formed in an old school model.
Can I ask
Yeah.
you a question? You won your first Grand Slam on grass.
Yes.
The data is actually not great looking at athletes across different surfaces. What is your qualitative view on surface?
Well, it's an interesting question because I started my career having an exceptional record on grass. And with time, I actually think the way that the grass, I know these are like specifics, but the way the grass was grown at Wimbledon changed and it became quite a slow court. So what was one of my biggest advantages with bigger ground strokes and a powerful serve, actually toward the end of my career was a little bit more challenging for me because it slowed down the game. And so I had to work a little harder with me. And so I think you'd see based on the statistics that clay was difficult in the beginning, became a little bit easier for me. Grass was, I won my first Grand Slam there and was more challenging toward the end. So I'd be interested to see those statistics actually.
We'll
have
get
to
more
pull
over
those up.
time.
We'll put them up on the big screen next
Yes.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just in general, the data gathering and the insights AI could provide just for how the sports are working in general, what surfaces are best, what conditions are best for
Yes.
players. Are they playing well in this sort of heat and humidity? Are they not? I'm wondering if ultimately the data gathering and the insights will lead to just a better, maybe sometimes more humane experience for players if you see some trends happening over time and eventually maybe make adjustments to make it better for players. What do you think?
I actually think as a player, if I knew, ahead of time how my opponent performs in cooler conditions, in warmer conditions, I would be better prepared, right? Because as a tennis player, not only is it the surface, it's the weather conditions, it's the tension on your strings, it's the heaviness of the ball. So there are so many elements that go into this, into a match. It's not just how your opponent is competing. So if there is data that, that's pulled together, to give me that information ahead of the match, maybe I'll make adjustments in my game, right, or in my string tension, or with my team collectively, technically, that will help me win the match.
Absolutely. And with that, we're actually out of time. So thank you guys so much for chatting with us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for coming,
Serena.
everyone.
Nice to see everyone. Thank you.